The VV file is an LSE student file from the 1980s, which only dealt with activities at LSE. According to the VV file, before VV was officially registered with LSE in October 1980, on September 30, 1980, the Department of International Relations appointed 2 supervisors to supervise VV. The supervisor appointment form was returned to the LSE Graduate School Office and kept in the VV file. It indicates that the appointment of supervisors was an activity at LSE. Ing Wen Tsai's LSE student file was different. LSE's response to a FOIA request on August 7, 2020, indicated that LSE had no records about the appointment of Tsai's supervisor. Based on VV's LSE student record, VV had at least one supervisor for each session, 1980–1981, 1981–1982, and 1982–1983. However, based on Tsai's LSE student record, no supervisor was assigned for 1982–1983. Since the supervisor played an important role at the LSE stage, the VV file is peppered with VV's supervisors' names. On January 21, 1981, the Graduate School Office notified VV about her registration with UOL. The names of 2 supervisors were printed on the notice. Each session, VV's supervisor was required to sign a report on VV's research work and recommend re-registration for the next session. On June 19, 1981, before VV was re-registered for the 1981–1982 session, one of VV's supervisors notified the school that VV was no longer his student. On October 11, 1982, VV's supervisor recommended VV's registration transfer from MPhil to PhD degree. On October 18, 1982, VV's supervisor was notified about the approval of VV's registration transfer. On November 26, 1982, VV's supervisor signed the thesis title approval form. On March 7, 1983, the Graduate School Office sent VV's examination entry form to VV's supervisor for signature and recommendation of VIVA examiners. On March 18, 1983, VV's supervisor returned the examination entry form to the Graduate School Office and promised to propose external VIVA examiners in April. To find out who VV's supervisor was, all it requires is the VV file. Unlike the VV file, in Tsai's LSE student file, only 2 reports indicated who Tsai's supervisor was. In June or July 2015, 3 decades after Tsai claimed her PhD degree in 1983 and 1984, LSE received a number of inquiries regarding Tsai's missing doctoral thesis and the authenticity of Tsai's PhD degree. The Department of Law at LSE began chasing up Tsai's supervisor on November 13, 2015. No records show that LSE was able to confirm the identity of Tsai's supervisor in 2015. Almost 4 years later, on June 11, 2019, at 10:23, in response to the inquiries submitted by Wan Lin, professor of the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, Marcus Cerny, deputy director of the LSE PhD Academy, emailed the Department of Law, asking the department to confirm who Tsai's supervisor was. At 11:24, Cerny found a name. He sent an email stating that he was chasing up with the home institution of the supervisor, with whom it turned out he worked before he came to LSE. Then, the Department of Law responded at 11:41. I believe the supervisor was XXX. On June 17, 2019, at 9:59, Clive Wilson, Enquiry Services Manager at the LSE Library, received an electronic copy of the title page and the acknowledgements page of Cy's personal copy of the doctoral thesis. In the acknowledgements page, Cy thanked her supervisor, Michael Elliott. At 11:18, Wilson informed his colleagues, including Cerny, that the acknowledgements page sent by Cy's office confirmed that Michael J. Elliott was Cy's supervisor. About 40 minutes later, at 11:59, Cerny wrote to the Department of Law, informing them that the supervisor was Michael Elliott rather than XXX. For almost 4 years, from November 13, 2015, to June 17, 2019, LSE could not identify Cy's thesis supervisor based on Cy's LSE student file. LSE finally relied on Cy's acknowledgements page to ascertain who Cy's thesis supervisor was. Elliott, who passed away in 2016, could no longer say yay or nay. Was Cy a reliable source of information about her supervisor? Cy talked about her supervisors for the first time in a public speech on March 17, 2011.
有一天，学校我的毛病又来了，学校突然打电话给我说：“哎 ，Miss Cy， 你到这个 office 来一下。”我就去一下。他说：“你的 supervisor 告你的状，说你人都不见了哈，也不知道在写什么，他对你很不满意哦。”那我说我已经都写好了，你要不要看一看呢？我就把它拿给学校看。那这个我们这个学校的系主任呢，看完以后他讲 Bloody hell， 这是一个英国人讲 Bloody hell， 我讲 Bloody hell， 他说：“哎，这个大纲写得很好，为什么他老师要告他的状呢？就帮我换了一个指导老师。”那看完以后，他们就拍拍我的肩膀说：“别人要担心他们的 PhD，You don't have to， 你不用担心。”我就知道说，我的日子大概可以过得不错了。
It is worth noting that Cy talked about her supervisors, but the names of her supervisors were not disclosed. No verification could be made. In her autobiography, published on October 25, 2011, 7 months later, Cy told a drastically different story. My supervisor was a renowned scholar. He had authored a series of articles on international economic law, which is still the most complete exposition in the field. However, the school replaced him with a younger supervisor to supervise me because he was old. Again, the names of her 2 supervisors were not disclosed. No verification could be made. In her acknowledgements, Cy also thanked John J. Barcelo of Cornell University and Brian Hindley of LSE for their invaluable comments on the final part of the thesis. Hindley was no longer available to corroborate because he passed away in 2012. Was Barcelo still alive and available to corroborate when his name was disclosed in 2019? Cy believed he was not. About 2 weeks after Cy filed the criminal defamation complaint on September 4, 2019, a campaign rally was held on September 20, 2019. Cy told a story about her conversation with the dean of the Cornell Law School when she just arrived in 1978.
他下一个问题很政治哦，他说：“那你们以后跟中国怎么办呢？”我想了一想，我说：“我们政府说我们要统一啊。”这个老师看着我说：“你真的要来念康奈尔大学的法学院吗？”他说：“这样的问题，先要有民主，才能做成民主的决定。这就是一个法学院学生应该有的素养。”这个老师叫什么名 因为他已经过世了，我可以跟各位讲，他名字叫巴索勒。巴索勒，你知道西班牙有个地方叫巴塞隆纳，所以他的名字是巴索勒，可见他是来自于西班牙。
Barcelo is not from Spain, and he is still at Cornell Law School, well and sound. He has never been the dean of the Cornell Law School. Roger C. Crampton was the dean of the Cornell Law School from 1973 to 1980. Peter William Martin was the dean of the Cornell Law School from 1980 to 1988. Was Elliot Tsai's thesis supervisor? In response to the FOIA request about Tsai's thesis supervisor for 1982-1983 and 1983-1984, LSE stated that 1983-1984 Tsai was not registered for 1983-1984, so there was no official supervisor for that year. The email dated July 13, 2011, confirms that Tsai's registration only lasted until June 1982. Since she was not re-registered for 1982-1983, Elliot was not assigned as Tsai's supervisor for 1982-1983, either. Furthermore, as established, Elliot was away from LSE in the last year of Tsai's PhD and subsequently left LSE in 1984 to join The Economist. The last year of Tsai's PhD was 1982-1983. The Economist responded to an inquiry on April 4, 2022, confirming that Elliot joined The Economist approximately in February 1984. The appointment of supervisors for PhD candidates was an activity at LSE in the early 1980s. Based on the records disclosed by UOL on whatdotheyknow.com on February 23, 2022, UOL began investigating Tsai's missing doctoral thesis and PhD degree in July 2011. How did UOL find out that Tsai's supervisor was Michael Elliott in 2011? This piece of information was not held either by the Department of Law at LSE or the LSE Graduate School Office in the 1980s or 2015.